You're listening to the Confident Choice Podcast with me, Dr. Roberto Garcia, a double board certified facial plastic and reconstructive surgeon. Honest conversations and expert advice about the decisions that make you feel your best. Welcome, everybody, to the Confident Choice. I'm your host, Dr. Roberto Garcia, and we are now filming episode 10. And we're going to talk a little bit today about the emotional impact. And I have one of my most favorite people. Oh. Okay. I'm sorry I have to say it.
Thank you.
And no offense to all my patients. Okay. I'm not, but Jackie, you and I have been friends for
a while.
And I'm so thrilled and honored to have you on here. And you have been so supportive of our practice. You just seem to have done it right. You know?
Well, I had help. Truly, your staff, it starts with the staff, and then you are it. You are Dr. Roberto Garcia. You're fantastic.
Well, so...
Besides that, I'm done complimenting you.
Yes, please.
Now ask me lots of questions.
Let's get to the crux of, the podcast, since we designed it, was really driven as an informational basin that people could grab different pieces in order to afford them the ability to really make a sound decision, right? And you know this because you've known me for a while, that, we're very detailed in what we do, and we're very informative, right? And we want our patients to be really, really... I want them to be experts. And so when you were first, the very beginning, and you were saying, maybe I should do something, maybe I shouldn't, what was it that drove you?
I looked tired, so my body felt amazing. I felt 35 years old, and then I would look in the mirror on the side, and I would see gravity just falling. And I said, oh my gosh, I've got to do something. And I called my mother. I said, oh my gosh, I have to do something. I'm going to get a facelift. She says, you're beautiful. You don't need a facelift. And I said, I'm getting a facelift. And so I remember the first time I came to you and I said, Dr. Garcia, I'm really not sure I need anything, thinking you would just send me home. Instead, you said, Jackie, we can do this. And I said, okay, I need to think about it. I never make a decision immediately. I take all the information you give me, and I go home and I think about it. And I thought about it, and it took me about 20 minutes. And I called the office, and I said, sign me up. And I wasn't afraid. I was healthy, right? And so I was eating correctly. I had a nutritionist that I worked with. She told I had been getting ready for this, knowing that one day I was going to do it. So I had my pineapple, my blueberries, the good protein, and I knew that I would have a pretty decent recovery. So I wasn't afraid, and I knew I had good medical attention. So it was that time when you said, Jack, we're going to do this. And then I thought, well, I'm going to get why don't you say what I did? Tell everyone, they're all looking, tell them what I did. I have no problem.
I don't remember.
Oh!
but the point, I'm not saying that because I haven't reviewed your chart. That's right. Nothing that we did jumps out.
Well,
right?
I had my chin. You gave me a tuck here, and then you did my upper, and I had staples. Yep. Was it staples?
Yeah, it's staples, yeah.
And I said, oh my gosh, I was more nervous about the staples coming out.
Yep.
Which did not hurt one bit, mind you. And I thought, oh my gosh, do I really need this?
Yep.
And and most people are concerned about the recovery. Mm-hmm. And it was that one night in the hotel that I just felt, my head felt heavy. But because I did everything right before, I was prepared, mentally and physically. I was ready, and my results are looking natural.
Right.
And that's what I wanted. I did not want to be pulled back. and looked like I had a facelift. I wanted to be natural. So someone would say, actually, someone said to me the other day, how do you look the same from 20 years ago? And I looked at him and I said, I had face work. And he said, you're kidding me. And I said, no, I'm not kidding you. I tell people that I had face work.
Yep.
I think it's important for people to share so they can.
Well, and and that's an important point, because obviously we've talked about this before, that you've been such a proponent of our practice, but that has changed, right? Because I can look back at the beginning of my career where I was trying to build patients, right? I was trying to build a practice. And every surgery I did, I was begging patients, can I use your before and afters? Can I do this? Can I get you to say this? And I got a lot of no's because there was this mystery and people didn't want to talk about it. And I think I can kind of pinpoint when social media really became mainstay in on the screens of Americans, right? And really worldwide. That's when that inhibition began to be lifted, right? Because now you saw patients saying, I want to be proud of something. I'm proud of what I did. And if we, going back to where you first kind of made that decision, not deciding for us to come here. What was it that you talked about? The inside not matching the outside.
Correct.
Super healthy, which you've always been, very fit, thin, healthy. Was there a comparative thing that you had going on with friends or younger people?
No, it didn't matter to me. It was all about how I felt. I didn't care what other people looked like. I cared what I looked like. It was, I'm not a competitive, I'm competitive in the workforce, but I'm not competitive. Oh, that person looks great. I want to look like her. It was never like that. I want to look myself.
Yeah.
I want to be happy. I want to get dressed in the morning. I want to look in the mirror. I said to my sister this morning, I said, Ronnie, and she'll probably be upset that I'm talking about her. I said, tell me, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? She says, I don't really look in the mirror. I put my makeup on and I run out. And I said, I don't do that. I look in the mirror and I say to myself, I feel really good today.
Well, in our first episode, we talked about the impetus of why people choose this, right? And it really came down to, I am tired of seeing something I don't like that I want to correct, right? Bottom line.
Right.
And that's with anything. I'm tired of driving the same car, so I want to change the car. I'm tired of this makeup doing this to my skin, so I want to change the makeup, etc. But it's such a personal decision.
It is.
That you obviously see something in yourself that somebody else doesn't see in themselves. I'll give you a point. Just yesterday, I'm talking to a patient, sweet lady, and she mentioned that she thought that the surgery, well, I'm not going to say any names, but she may get angry with me if she ever listens to this podcast. But I had a really nice discussion with her about the psychology of why we do this. And, the thought was, this is a superficial thing to do. And I kind of was taken back a little bit, and I said, well, hold on a second. When I was young in my career, there was a point, because when I started off, I was doing a lot of trauma. I was doing a lot of pediatric trauma down at Wolf's, and so I felt like I was really making a dent in society, right? I was helping these kids that otherwise would have ended up scarred and mangled, and I was giving them a second chance. And then you start a cosmetic practice, and the first thing you start thinking is, am I really doing meaningful things? Right? Am I really helping people? But then I start meeting more people like you, where you see that what you are doing is insanely meaningful.
Look, I'm a happy person. I'm a confident person, whether or not I had a facelift. I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel refreshed. I feel happy. I was always happy, but I feel maybe a little happier And when I get dressed and I look in the mirror, I say, wow, I'm good.
Did you ever feel in the post-operative process, oh gosh, what have I done?
No. And I say that very
Even
quickly.
early in the process?
Never. Never. Ever. Never.
I mean, I see it so often that I even talk about it in our app.
I was so happy. It all depends when you go in with a good attitude.
Yeah.
You hope you come out you go in and you come out. And I was just I was good. I don't know how to say it. I was happy.
You have a very positive personality.
The recovery. People always want to know about the recovery process. Jackie, talk about the recovery.
Right.
How long were you in the house? Did you ever go? Okay, so just to let everybody know, I went out I wasn't on any meds after 2 days, and then I didn't drive, but I put a hat on. Because I didn't have much scarring. I didn't have black and blue.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even barely. I went out. I went to the grocery store. And I sat at my computer and I worked all day.
Yep.
And so I was able to do those things. And I think that's what people are afraid of. Oh, am I going to be down for 10 days? Am I going to be able to watch the kids? Who's going to take care of me?
Yep.
Really, it was because I did everything my nutritionist told me to do. My body was ready for the surgery. I just healed beautifully.
Well, I will tell you that we, as a field, we never learned about nutrition in medical school. Mm-hmm. Never. Mm-hmm. And I think now medical school is a little different. I think they may touch more on it. Well, we learned about vitamins and whatnot, but what I saw with you sold me on the importance. And I've always talked about, okay, it's important to eat protein and do these things, but what you did,
plant protein, no red meats.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Pineapple for better tissue building. I don't know.
It helps with collagen growth.
Okay, so I mean, I did everything, and I ate so many blueberries. I'm surprised I don't look like one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how many I ate. Pineapple. I had fish.
Yep.
I had chicken. I didn't have any red meat. I didn't. Oh, I love my liquor and my wine. Sorry for the pie. That's what I like. And
Yep.
I maybe once or twice a week.
Yep.
When I knew I was having surgery.
Right. Well, so much so that we're implementing a pre-surgical nutritional program, and we're going to implement the things that you need to do after, basically off of your inspiration.
Right. I think it's really important. So when you sign up, when you sign that paperwork and you're ready, someone hands you something and says, hey, this is what you need to do. And they should meet with a nutritionist. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if your practice will allow them to meet with a nutritionist just once to talk to the person.
Yep.
And then they're on their own.
Yep.
But a program that this individual, this new patient could follow and know that they've done one thing right before surgery.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's a matter of your car is only going to perform as well as what you put into it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I can see a clear separation between those who do the preoperative work and those that don't.
I don't know any other physician that talks about nutrition.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who talks about nutrition. And I think it's such an important part of surgery.
Yeah. Did you ever read a book called, it was by a guy named Peter Attia. He's a health guy. And maybe it wasn't Peter Attia, but anyway.
It's a good thing I didn't say yes.
No. And it'll come to me, and I'll put it in the comments later what the book was. Outlive. The book is called Outlive.
No,
okay?
I have not.
Great book.
Okay, I will.
So this guy...
Outlive. Make sure
Outlive.
I'll remember that.
I'll text it to you later.
Okay.
But this author talks about the goal of longevity is you want to be healthy until the last year of your life, right? Or last 6 months. And they found that if one made it to the age of 90 healthy, then their chances of having one of the big four, which was heart, diabetes, neurological disease, or cancer was significantly reduced. But when you had an unhealthy lifestyle up until your 50s, 60s, or then you were more prone to have a long period of time of sickness, right?
Okay.
And so you see those people that they have those diabetic feet, or what, they're wobbling around and they're 70 years old and they're barely getting by, right?
Right.
And then you see those guys on the golf course, I see them, that are 92 years old and they may not be able to hit the ball far, but they're out there walking.
Right.
And so that's that kind of that magical point, that what he was saying is you got to fight off disease by prevention on the front end, which is what you've been
And
advocating.
exercise,
and exercising every
so
day.
important. And I want to go back to nutrition. Sugar
Yep.
is a no-no.
a
Additional
devil.
sugar, right?
It's the devil.
Right.
Anything processed is
Right.
the devil.
Right.
It's
But exercise, and for those watching, I do Pilates reformer. I do strength training at my age, and I will tell my age. I'm 66. I do a lot of strength training and I do a lot of walking, and I think that's really, really important. And if you
sure.
can just do, if you can't do it 7 days a week, do it twice a week, but do something.
Yeah.
Because I think if you are going to have surgery, you have to implement all of that,
Yeah.
and you'll feel better.
Yeah, and so many times throughout my career, I've seen patients that we'll do a lift on, and it's almost like their mind reboots afterwards. And they say, I'm going to start hitting the gym. I'm going to stop eating processed foods. I'm going to do A, B, and C. And it's almost like that one thing that they needed to really help another component of their life that was completely unrelated.
Could you imagine if they had done it before?
Right.
Right?
And but I will say though, in my years of doing this, I'm finding more and more patients that are preoperatively interested in the betterment, right?
Good.
It's almost like they're saying, and I don't know if it's maybe part of this GLP-1 world that we live in now, where patients come in and they're like, I'm really interested in the betterment of my physical self, and I'm feeling great. I'm hitting the gym, or I'm running 2 or 3 days a week, which I never did in my 40s, and then all of a sudden you got some loose skin or whatever it might be around your eyes or your brows. And you want to correct that.
Right. Speaking of eyes, I just want to remind you, I think I came in with a friend and I said, Dr. Garcia, take a look at my eyes. And you said to me, I'm not touching your eyes. Don't ask me again. I'm not touching your eyes. You want me to make you look funny looking? And I'm like, no. You were kidding, of course. But the fact is, you told me no. And I loved that. You could have said, yes, we'll do it. And I would have said, okay. But you said
yeah, but that's
no.
not the right thing for you.
No, but what I'm saying is, what I love about your practice is, if it's not right for you, you say no.
Of course.
And that's what I like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, and one of the things that's most important for a physician to realize, that I really do hope that young physicians understand this. When a patient comes to you, you have to find out what their pain is, and then you fix their problem.
Right.
But if you start making up things that perhaps don't even bother them, then you're really doing them a disservice, right? And so I've said this before. You're going to look at yourself 10 times in a day, right? Mirror, makeup,
Right. You're gonna
mirror,
pass
whatever.
it, right.
I'm going to see you 10 times in a year,
Right.
right? So really, the person I'm most interested in having appreciation of the procedure is the patient,
Right.
right? And so if I see something that I don't absolutely think is going to bring that happiness to the patient, don't do it.
Right. Right.
But unfortunately, and I was talking with Dr. Basil about this. I know you love
him
him.
well, and I will admit, I want to just tell everyone, all these listeners, that after my facelift, I felt so great. I had some loose skin, and I went to him. And I told him I only wanted a certain part done. And he says, no, you really need both. And I said, no, let me think about it. And I went home and I thought about it.
Yeah.
And he did, I don't know, what do you say when you remove?
Brachioplasty.
Okay, because it was genetic. He said,
Yeah.
oh, which grandmother had it?
Yeah.
I said, actually.
You see him saying that?
I actually said both. And then he said, oh my gosh, you're from New York. I could tell. We grew up a couple of towns away.
Yeah.
And then he said, and then I said, well, I'm going to do my tummy. I should have done, it was amazing. And he did fantastic work. So on the way here, I listened to the podcast.
Oh, you
both
did?
of you, yes.
Oh, he's great.
And I giggled. I said, this is so funny. Syracuse.
I
And
know.
I heard the whole thing.
I know. And I'm embarrassed to say I didn't remember him as a medical student.
But he remembered you.
Yeah.
Remember, you walked in, he was a little afraid of you?
Yeah.
I heard that.
I know, and when I first met him years back,
It's true.
and he told me that story, and I was like, I usually remember the students, because I love teaching,
Right.
But we were talking about that. It's hard for a physician who's trying to tell a patient no. In the back of their head, they're saying, I hope they don't go somewhere and seek a yes. And I hope they don't try to find that patient.
And you talked about that on your podcast.
Yeah.
Right. I remember you talked about that.
Yeah, and Patrick is a little bit more proactive about it, and he'll tell them, hey, listen, you're going to go somewhere, you're going to probably find somebody to say yes. I don't recommend it. And a lot of times I feel that that's something I probably should do more of. And
say
tell them,
why.
And say, listen, you're going to find somebody that's going to say yes, because there's always surgeons out there that'll operate.
Truthfully, I think you should just do exactly what you're doing. If you don't think it's right, you say it's not right.
Yeah.
And leave it at that. You
Yeah.
know, talking about you're going to go find a surgeon, just leave it as you're doing fine.
Yeah.
People
Well, I
trust
just
you.
don't like patients to, unfortunately, and I see less of it now, though, where they go elsewhere, right? So after years, you gain credibility and whatnot.
Let them go elsewhere.
I know, but
You don't want to do their work if they're not in. Just let them go. You have enough patience.
yeah, but
and
I
then,
still feel bad for them,
You'll get over it.
All right, well,
Is that terrible to say?
no. It's honest, and so we are going to. We always close. You've been
Yes.
amazing, by the way.
Oh, with the story?
Yes.
Yes. Wait, can I just say one thing
Yeah.
about your office staff? So what's great about this practice, and I'm not saying it, I'm not fibbing, it's the warmth. It's if you have surgery, and I'm going to tell all the watchers out there, when you have surgery, if you have a problem, you call the office and somebody will get back to you. I have Dr. Garcia's cell number. Call me. I'll give it to you.
8:00. After that, I turn into a pumpkin. But
Right.
on the topic of the warmth,
Yes.
my father, as you may or
he
may not
rest in
know,
peace.
thank you, was the warmest person. Right, he had a huge heart, and one of the things that I've been doing on these podcasts is talking about, little lessons that I picked up along the way that I can kind of attribute, and I thought that a good lesson to talk about today, and I just wanted to make sure that I was had enough time. The growth in anything you do is a micro movement, right? A meaningful growth. And a lot of times patients expect these major cataclysmic things to happen overnight, and nothing that's meaningful happens overnight. And I first learned that when I was in pre-med. And I remember my dad telling me, he says, one class at a time, one lecture at a time, one test at a time, and it's micro. And just because you don't do well on one test in one class in one semester does not dictate what the macro will look like.
It's true.
What will dictate the macro is if you don't learn from the mistake that you made and you don't correct the course, or if you hold yourself down so much that you end up quitting on yourself before you ever gave yourself a chance. And so he was always I'm just going to, and I think we've talked about it, the beating of the drum, the constant background sound, right? And he was always that, hey, just little by little, just make a little crack at it, a little every day, make a movement. And, you're a lawyer.
No.
You're not a lawyer.
Nina's
You're
the
a
lawyer. I'm the business owner.
You're the business. All right. Well, okay. As a business
lot
owner,
about
how many
business.
times have you failed in the building of a business or in basic
You
concept?
learn from everything. Every time you fail, you learn.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah.
thought you were a lawyer.
No, Nina's the lawyer, and she's going to get a kick out of this. When she
because
watches
I was
this.
going to I was going to tell you about a case that I'm in. I was going to ask you for some legal advice.
No,
I'm
but
kidding.
you can call Nina.
Okay. I'm going to call Nina, but Nina doesn't want to work anymore. She's retired.
Right,
and,
that's true. But I'm the business owner. I've been
I've-
on a board of a publicly traded company. I've done a lot. So yes, so
Okay.
I'm good. But I just want to say one thing before we end. Just because you give a great facelift doesn't mean that people shouldn't take care of their skin afterwards.
For sure.
And I think that's really, really important. And that's what your staff has taught me.
Yeah. Well, you have great skin.
Well, and
You had great skin before, too.
I
though.
did have great skin. That is true. I start because I work on it.
You cared about it.
And I don't really wear much makeup, blush, mascara, a little lipstick. Yeah. So
You didn't become one of those transplants from New York that was with the iodine in the mirrors and all that?
do you know when I was younger, no kidding, my parents bought a sun lamp. We used to take the tin foil and go like this in my bedroom and do so we can get a sunburn. So I know your Floridians are talking about, oh, we got New Yorkers.
So I wonder if that's...
It was horrible. It was like this, and we got beautiful color. We felt great. And then I have a lot of brown spots, but I'm not doing anything about it.
I wonder if that's what the concept of those tanning beds were, because...
I never went in a tanning bed.
Yeah.
It's too claustrophobic for me.
Yeah, and it's one thing that people don't understand is as you get older, as your skin thins, you go out in the sun and you get a dark spot like that.
I have them. I have them. I mean, I just use moisturizer and SPF, but I have them, and I'm just going to keep them.
Yeah. Well, each
keeping them.
one tells a story. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
It's such an
Thank
honor
you
to
so
have
much.
you.
Yes,
And
it's
you know how
my
much I love
pleasure.
you
Thank you.
and everything
It's my
you've
pleasure.
done.
Thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for everyone listening to me and to Dr. Garcia. We are a sweet team.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, so thank you, everybody. This concludes episode 10, Alyssa. Next week, we're going to be talking about some revision surgery and the nuts and bolts of it and why we do it and why we what kind of pitfalls we want to avoid. And I'm going to sign off with our famous line that with good information comes great decisions. Thanks, you everybody. Have a great week.